Hi everyone, thank you all so much for being here. My name's Dan, this is Alex.
Hi, Alex.
If any of you don't know, Alex and I were both diagnosed and treated with an extremely rare disease at Children's Hospital Boston called Gorham-Stout. And the reason we're all here today is to raise money for the Vascular Anomalies Center at Children's Hospital. We all know about Children's and the great work that they do, but the fact of the matter is that the ultra-rare diseases don't get the money and the attention that the more well-known diseases get. So that's why we're all here to raise money for a great cause that saved both of our lives and that is often overlooked in the medical community.
I'd just like to thank you all for coming out and supporting me and Dan. And play ball.
Alex had mild scoliosis that was being watched, and it seemed like all of a sudden it was progressing. I noticed when he would sit, his shoulder blade was sticking out, and so I, brought him in to his local pediatrician, orthopedic, to kind of get it checked out.
It was all a surprise to me that I was missing bones in my back, because I just started playing bantam hockey, and that's when you start checking and it starts getting more and more physical. And I was getting tossed around like a rag doll because I'm pretty small for my age. When I was golfing and just the backswing, twisting of the back started to hurt.
Within, I think, 2 days he had a MRI and a CAT scan, and when he had the MRI, they immediately knew. They came out and they told us that it wasn't what they initially thought it was, and that they thought that he had something called Gorham-Stout. It's frightening, because you have a doctor at Children's Hospital who has, decades of experience, and he told us that he had never seen this before. They tell you not to Google it, and of course you're Googling. And it sounded vaguely familiar to me. When Alex was in preschool, and my other two children were in preschool, I remember an email going out, one of the teachers there, her son had a rare disease. It, was destroying bone, he was having surgery. There was kind of like a community message to go out for support and thoughts and prayers for the family. And I said to my husband, Tom, I was like, doesn't that sound like what Mrs. Ventresca's son had? And he was like, you're crazy. They just told us 200, 300 people in the world have this. There's no way. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna call a friend of mine who knows them and see, maybe it's something similar. And literally within minutes she called me back and she was like, I talked to him, I talked to his mom. He couldn't even believe it was, that someone else had this same rare disease.
It was fall of my junior year of high school at Hingham High, and I was playing hockey for the high school and started experiencing what I thought was pain from some kind of hockey injury in my back. So I was seeing the trainer regularly for maybe a month or so, treating the injury as if it were some kind of orthopedic injury. I started reaching a point where the pain was significantly worse. I felt like the condition was deteriorating, and that's when I got an X-ray, which was inconclusive, and then went for an MRI, and the MRI showed that this was something well beyond just a typical orthopedic injury. So made an appointment at Tufts, where they diagnosed me with Gorham's Stout disease, and immediately referred me to Children's to start my treatment. The kind of nickname for it in the medical world is the vanishing bone disease, because essentially what it is a tumor that attaches itself to bone and it eats the bone, it dissolves it away. There's a lot of cases, from early 20th century and things like that, where a person will have it in their arm and, essentially their arm just kind of like vanishes. The bones in the arm are just gone because they didn't know how to treat it. It kind of impacts everything you do. For me in particular, my arms, I had numbness and tingling. I lost the feeling in my right hand. I had trouble writing when I was in high school in class. They were very blunt about the fact that this is extremely rare and you need to go see a doctor who has some kind of history of dealing with this, because we don't, and most doctors in the world don't.
Alex's treatment was sort of two-step, and he kind of sees two different departments there. First, he had to deal with having spinal fusion surgery to stabilize his spine, because he didn't have a stable spine at the time of diagnosis, which was certainly frightening, because he was playing hockey and lacrosse and contact sports, and he could have been, one wrong blow away from very serious injury. So we had one piece to fix his spine, another piece to deal with the disease process, and they started him on medication.
When I was in the ICU, I had no idea what was going on. I just woke up in a dark room and I was like, where am I? And then my mom was right there. She was with me the whole time.
So some of the complications that they prepared us for in terms of fluid and things we might come into contact with during surgery, when they did Alex's surgery, it was a clean operation.
Dan told me his story. His was a lot more severe than mine. I remember our doctor telling us that when he went in, there was fluid everywhere all over his back, but when they went in with me, there was no fluid at all.
So a lot of that fluid drained into my chest cavity throughout the surgery. So I had to be held at the hospital for a while to get the fluid out from my chest cavity, because I couldn't breathe. But after that initial surgery, my spinal fusion actually failed 2 years later when the rods broke. So I had to have a second surgery to replace the rods. And then 6 months after that, I had a third surgery to have an anterior fusion, which is when they go in through the front of your neck. I just always assumed I would be the only person that I ever knew who had this disease. I mean, the odds of meeting somebody else who has it are pretty small. So, I just never thought I would meet somebody, and then to not only meet somebody else, but somebody who is kind of a reflection of who I was when I was his age, into sports. He's obviously living in the same town, going to the same high school that I went to. So to meet somebody who was very much in the same shoes that I was in, and then to see him doing so well was hugely rewarding for me. It was nice for me to at least just show up and say, I'm 29 years old now, and I was around your age when this whole thing started, and I'm doing fine.
Dan told me his story. I don't know the exact details, but his was a lot more severe than mine. Hearing his story and seeing him so far down the road really helped me out.
It was also a tremendous relief, because when you're dealing with a rare disease, you don't sometimes even have anybody who you can talk to that's been through the treatment, who's sort of come out, the other side. So that was immensely comforting to us. So, Alex's surgery went really well. His medical treatment is going really well. And so for him, we just kind of felt like we were in a place with his health that we wanted to do something to give back. But also being a rare disease, we wanted to do something that specifically helps that area at Children's Hospital, the Vascular Anomaly Center, that has this registry that sort of tracks people who have these kinds of diseases around the world.
Me and my mom were thinking of ways we could give back to Children's Hospital for all they've done for me and my family. And first started off, I suggested a golf tournament, but then not that many people golf and it's difficult to play. But then a wiffle ball tournament, everyone can play it.
That's okay, you fight the sun. The wind, back.
So there's the younger children who are like K through 2, and they have a little division. And then I think it's 3 through 5 has another division. And then there's the middle school division. And then there is the high school / adult division, I think we're calling it.
We wanted to encourage teams creatively to think of ways to raise money for Children's Hospital. And so we did give away fundraising perks for teams that raise certain amounts of money. You know, if you raise $250 or $500 or $1,000, you know, you maybe got to start first 3 games on first base, second base, that kind of thing, to kind of like give you a little advantage for all your fundraising efforts.
I think it's an awesome idea because there's just kind of something about wiffle ball that everybody likes. It's like pizza, you know, in the form of sports. Everybody likes it.
So today they have a silent auction, and then we have a raffle, and everything from an Apple Watch to wonderful gifts donated by our great community here in Hingham. So we have Papalos candy, we have Trader Joe's who donated, and then we have silent auction items from all the different great restaurants. Several of the different grocery stores were able to donate. We're lucky to have the Rolling Roost, which is Jen Gilman's great food truck, and they've donated all their food today. So they're serving us beautiful egg and cheese, and I think hot dogs and hamburgers all day long, and we just walk up to the truck, which is wonderful. And then we also have another truck that you can see behind me. The Yazoo truck is going to be offering great desserts. And then Aquarium Water was kind enough to donate their water for us today, and also water bottles, so that's great.
My neighbors over there, they were having fun. They were losing though, they lost most of their games, but I saw a smile on every one of their faces.
To sort of crown it all off, you're helping Children's Hospital. And the rare diseases don't have a great data bank and resource for people to look at to find out what's going on with that disease or track trends, etc., which is really important for them to find cures and to really help the people who are ill with these rare diseases.
With Alex being 15, we kind of thought that if it's something that gets successful, you know, he could take it over on his own in a couple of years. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. But it's, you know, it's going great today, so it may be something we consider doing annually. Hingham is amazing. Like so many people came out to support the Wiffle Ball Classic, and I feel like they're that way with all sorts of fundraisers and causes. It's just, you know, and we pulled this fundraiser together in like 2 months. It was kind of like a short time frame because we knew we could only get the fields like at the end of August, and yeah, and that took a village, and people supported us in so many ways.
I think that's been a huge benefit to me just personally is, you know, seeing our story get talked about a little bit and kind of shedding some light on the fact that there are rare diseases out there. I would say if you're looking for a really good charitable cause to donate to, the Vascular Anomaly Center at Children's Hospital is the best in the world. It's great to donate money towards diseases that affect a lot of people because, you know, you can help out a huge number of people, but I might encourage people to just think about maybe something that is a little bit, you know, gets less notoriety and is maybe less well known.
When you have a disease that only 300 people in the world have ever had, a registry is critical because there's just no long-term data, there's no data and research and things like that, you know, when you have so few people that have a disease, it really is critical to be able to gather information from the few people that are afflicted with it to be able to determine the treatment plans and best options for rare disease patients.
The thing that really separates Children's Hospital is just their ability to handle really anything that's thrown at them. You know, there's not a lot of hospitals on earth that would have a calculated plan to attack a disease that's as rare as this. And Children's has not only seen this many times, they've dealt with it and had success with it.
He's doing so well, but there is not a lot of long-term data. So those things always weigh on your mind because he takes medications, the clinical trial. What will be the long-term effects of that? We don't know. But right now the benefits just far outweigh those risks. So you kind of have to roll with that. He may have a few restrictions, but it really isn't going to stop him from doing anything he wants to do in life.
I kind of want to work in like sports marketing or business and stuff like that. Like, even though I can't play that many sports anymore, it'd be fun to work with sports. For all the young children out there with a rare disease, you just gotta stay strong. Someone out there has the same thing as you, they've gone through it, and they're probably far down the road, and you'll be fine.
I would just say you have to keep believing that there is an answer out there somewhere. You just have to find it. You just have to find the right doctor, and just keep doing whatever you can to get yourself healthy. Listen to your doctors. Whatever's recommended, you should go with it. And I guess the big thing, your mental state can play a huge part in the recovery process. There is a lot to be said about having the right mindset and thinking about things positively. I think it just overall will make you feel better.